Human beings can be awful cruel to one another. Jim said that bees won't sting idiots, but I didn't believe that, because I tried them lots of times myself and they wouldn't sting me. Right is right and wrong is wrong, and a body ain't got no business doing wrong when he ain't ignorant and knows better. Ain't we got all the fools in town on our side? And ain't that a big enough majority in any town? What's the use you learning to do right when it's troublesome to do right, and ain't no trouble to do wrong, and the wages is just the same? Sometimes you gwine to get hurt, and sometimes you gwine to get sick, but every time you's gwine to get well agin'. Stars and shadows ain't good to see by. Now, we'll start this band of robbers and call it Tom Sawyer's Gang. Everybody that wants to join has got to take an oath and write his name in blood. Be respectful to your superiors, if you have any. The difference between the almost right word and the right word is really a large matter. 'Tis the difference between the lightning bug and the lightning. I was seldom able to see an opportunity until it had ceased to be one. I have found out that there ain't no surer way to find out whether you like people or hate them than to travel with them. The only way to keep your health is to eat what you don't want, drink what you don't like, and do what you'd druther not. Truth is stranger than fiction, but it is because fiction is obliged to stick to possibilities. Truth isn't. The elastic heart of youth cannot be compressed into one constrained shape long at a time. I could forgive the boy now if he'd committed 1,000,000 sins. He was not the model boy of the village. He knew the model boy very well, though, and loathed him. Work consists of whatever a body is obliged to do, and play consists of whatever a body is not obliged to do. Often, the less there is to justify a traditional custom, the harder it is to get rid of it. You only just tell a boy you won't ever have anybody but him, ever, and then you kiss, and that's all. Anybody can do it. They said they would rather be outlaws a year in Sherwood Forest than President of the United States forever. As you perceive, the only person responsible for the couple's offense escaped, and not only escaped, but became the executioner of the innocent. No creature can be honorably required to go counter to the law of his nature, the law of God. Your country and mine is an interesting one, but there is nothing there that is half so interesting as the human mind. I have been studying the traits and dispositions of the lower animals, so-called, and contrasting them with the traits and dispositions of man. I find the result humiliating to me. What the insane father required was blood and misery. He was indifferent as to who furnished it. The tiger, yes. The law of his nature is ferocity. The law of his nature is the law of God. He cannot disobey it. He is a marvel, man is. I knew who invented him. Human history in all ages is red with blood, and bitter with hate, and stained with cruelties. But not since biblical times have these features been without a limit of some kind. I am not in the humor for it. Kings cannot ennoble thee, thou good, great soul, for one who is higher than kings hath done that for thee, but a king can confirm thy nobility to men. But when weariness finally forced him to be silent, he was no longer of use to his tormentors, and they sought amusement elsewhere. That which I have seen in that little moment will never go out from my memory, but will abide there, and I shall see it all the days and dream of it all the nights till I die. Would God I had been blind! What dost thou know of suffering and oppression? I and my people know, but not thou. Learning softeneth the heart, and breedeth gentleness and charity. It does us all good to unbend sometimes. What God wills will happen. Thou canst not hurry it. Thou canst not alter it. Therefore wait, and be patient. Let us change the tense for convenience. Fu, the first, king of the mooncalves. And when he awoke in the morning and looked upon the wretchedness about him, his dream had had its usual effect. It had intensified the sordidness of his surroundings 1,000-fold. The world is made wrong. Kings should go to school, to their own laws, at times, and so learn mercy. Their garment? Have they but one? Ah, good your worship, what would they do with more? Truly, they have not 2 bodies each. 25 sturdy budges, bulks, files, clapperdogeons, and maunders, counting the dells and doxies and other morts. Most are here, the rest are wandering eastward along the winterlay. We follow at dawn. Explosive, and was expected to blow him up. I couldn't bear to think about it, and yet, somehow, I couldn't think about nothing else. I do not wish any reward but to know I have done the right thing. You can't pray a lie. I found that out. The average man don't like trouble and danger. He was sunshine most always. I mean, he made it seem like good weather. I don't want no better book than what your face is. All kings is mostly rapscallions, as fur as I can make out. All right then, I'll go to hell. When a man loves cats, I am his friend and comrade without further introduction. You ought never to sass old people unless they sass you first. Nothing so needs reforming as other people's habits. Classic, a book which people praise and don't read. I was mighty downhearted, so I made up my mind I wouldn't ever go near that house again, because I reckoned I was to blame somehow. That's just the way a person does a low-down thing, and then he don't want to take no consequences of it. Thinks as long as he can hide it, it ain't no disgrace. That was my fix exactly. That is just the way with some people. They get down on a thing when they don't know nothing about it. Look here, if you're telling the truth, you needn't be afraid. Nobody'll hurt you. It's the little things that smooths people's roads the most. A person's conscience ain't got no sense and just goes for him anyway. The law roasted her to death at a slow fire. He lay down upon a sumptuous divan and proceeded to instruct himself with honest zeal. He brought us clear down to the ground, nearly. He's an honest soul and means the very best in the world. But I'm afraid he's too flighty. He has no traditions to bind him or guide him, and his impulse is to break away from the occupation his father has followed and make a new way for himself. An ugly woman would ruin me. The disease would be sure to strike in and kill me at the sight of her. I think a pretty physician with engaging manners would coax a fellow to live through almost anything. Nobody knows anything, really, you know, and a woman can guess a good deal nearer than a man. I wasn't worth a cent 2 years ago, and now I owe $2 million. To the young American, here or elsewhere, the paths to fortune are innumerable and all open. There is invitation in the air and success in all his wide horizon. A woman's intuition is better than a man's. Beautiful credit, the foundation of modern society. Who shall say that this is not the golden age of mutual trust, of unlimited reliance upon human promises? If you should rear a duck in the heart of the Sahara, no doubt it would swim if you brought it to the Nile. The only way to keep your health is to eat what you don't want, drink what you don't like, and do what you'd rather not. You know that kind of quiver that trembles around through you when you are seeing something so strange and enchanting and wonderful that it is just a fearful joy to be alive and look at it. I said it was a brutal thing. No, it was a human thing. You should not insult the brutes by such a misuse of that word. They have not deserved it. Only the mad can be happy, and not many of those. It gave an appalling idea of the value of an hour, and I thought I could never waste one again without remorse and terror. To skip any one of the billion acts in Columbus's chain would have wholly changed his life. I have examined his billion of possible careers, and in only one of them occurs the discovery of America. When I am king, they shall not have bread and shelter only, but also teachings out of books. For a full belly is little worth where the mind is starved. He's mad, but he is my son and England's heir, and, mad or sane, still shall reign.